Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Smarketing CONNECT podcast. I am your host, Tom Libby, the co-founder and CEO of Smarketing CONNECT, and I have an awesome guest with me today. I'm very excited to have Ruthie on. As usual, I'm not going to do a lot of the intro. I'll let Ruthie do that for herself. So we'll jump right in. So Ruthie, give everybody a little bit of indication as to who you are in a couple of sentences.
All right. So yes, my name is Ruthie Bowles, and I am the founder of Defy the Status Quo. We are a marketing consultancy specializing in personal brand growth. I'm a U.S. Army veteran. I'm actually from California, but you can find me in Maryland these days. I'm a mom. I've got 4 kids. I've got a bunch of little farm animals, and I spend most of my days doing a lot of things like this because my personal brand, of course, is incredibly important to me, as well as, just developing those growth strategies for my clients' personal brands. And right now I'm working on a couple of articles for Entrepreneur magazine. So it's kind of what the days look like.
Super exciting. And first of all, thank you very much for your service. I did remember that you're an Army veteran. I should have said that before, but thank you very much for your service. And so we'll move on to the next question. In your business and Defy the Status Quo, are there particular niches that you like working with, and whether it comes to company size or vertical or geographic location, what defines a really good company to work with for you?
Yep. So size isn't a huge indicator, but we largely work with service businesses, skill-based businesses. Sometimes if it's more of an entrepreneur aspect, then I'll talk about knowledge entrepreneurs, but they're basically people who sell what's in their minds. And, typically the fact that their personal brands are important to them, you'll see them, maybe they've done some speaking, maybe they've written a book, just these are sometimes small, sometimes big actions that, ideal clients for me will actually take on their own. And then they kind of realize, the big thing is they kind of realize like, hey, growing my personal brand on my own is kind of difficult. And I decided on service-based companies mostly because I'm also a service-based professional. And I know that there are, different perspectives in terms of marketing, for product-based businesses or for service-based businesses. But obviously personal branding could really be for, CEOs of product-based businesses or C-suite individuals of
Sure.
product-based businesses as well.
Sure. Very cool. So their volume doesn't necessarily matter as long as they're the right angle. But what you're looking for is what, if you think you can help them, basically, is what you're looking at.
Right. Yeah. And part of the discovery process too is like maybe volume isn't necessarily a critical factor, but I'm pretty sensitive to doing things, out of sequence. Growing your personal brand is something that everybody should invest in because you have a personal brand, whether purposely cultivate it or not. But you may have other things that you need to spend, company resources on before you invest in, a strategist like myself. Or it could be that you should have invested in a strategist like myself a long time ago. So it's just making sure that we're doing things in the proper order for good business development too.
Makes a lot of sense, actually. So in this question, we have an overabundance of small business tools that people think of, and it ranges everything from software to, I actually had somebody answer this question with their own mindset. So literally from inside your own mind all the way to software. So do you have something that you advise customers as like a must have? You have to use this tool no matter what.
Virtual assistant. And like that's not a service that I offer. But I've had a virtual assistant for like 2 years, and I don't know how I would exist without one now. And especially when you consider the global marketplace and therefore the like accessibility in terms of even like some of the smaller businesses. Having a virtual assistant takes a lot of that admin work off of your hands. And mostly it's evaluating the opportunity cost, right? So it's not that you can't do something, but if you're supposed to be making $500 an hour, should you be spending an hour doing data entry?
Right.
Like that's the big thing. And then, yeah, and then you can find virtual assistants with different specialties. Like, do you really need to spend 30 minutes tweaking that social media graphic in Canva? No, you don't. You need to find somebody else to do that because you're supposed to be making 500, 700, 1,000, whatever, how many dollars an hour. That is not your lane. You got to stay in your zone of genius. So, the first team member, even if, as a contract team member, it should definitely be a virtual assistant.
That's awesome. And to your point, your philosophy kind of is in line with mine a little bit, even from an overall business perspective, which is do what you do best and outsource the rest. Like I've had that
Yes.
philosophy for a long time. I just think that it makes way more sense to do that. So,
Hmm.
I know you're about personal branding. I know but is there an underlying challenge that business owners typically bring you in for? And I'm assuming, and if it's a bad assumption, please definitely let me know. But I'm assuming people don't go, I think I need some personal branding. I'm going to go see Ruthie. There's got to be something that draws them there to you first, right? That you use that as the solution. So what are they thinking they typically need you for?
So typically, where companies are looking to bring someone like myself in is they've probably tried some other marketing strategies, maybe strategies that focused more on the corporate side of things as opposed to leveraging the expertise that's basically intrinsic in their organization. So I can't exactly remember what the percentage is, but I mean, they've done, reports on the fact that, when you have your CEO and your C-suite individuals actually, leveraging their personal brands, it adds a ton of value to the corporate brand and makes the personal brand marketing and the corporate brand marketing like very much more effective. And so typically, they've like, okay, maybe we signed on with a marketing agency. We did more of a general, broad marketing approach, and we just didn't see the ROI that we expected. And that's largely because individuals, and that's everybody, B2B, B2C, it doesn't matter. We're all individuals. We're starting to become numb to the, humanless corporate brand. And we want to know who is there behind the scenes and who's making things happen. And so that's typically the problem, is that they've tried other types of marketing strategies, maybe with other agencies or firms, and the ROI just wasn't there. And they're really looking to add that human face or human faces to their company and to try something different.
That's awesome. Yeah, I can definitely see that for sure. So on this question, because I like asking our own world, like our community, because we can't do everything for everybody, right? And we're always giving referrals out to get to different and myself being a sales consultant, I refer marketing people quite often. So when I tell clients to hire a marketing person, I always give them some advice about ask them this or don't ask them that, or don't let them tell you this or don't let them. So what if somebody comes to you and says, hey, Ruthie, I'm looking to hire somebody to do X. What type of advice do you give them when hiring somebody outside of you and your team?
Oh, this is so great. I actually did a live stream about this on Monday, or at least about my answer just yesterday. And it gets me really fired up. It gets me really excited. So the big piece of advice that I would give to anyone who's hiring marketing, sales, pretty much anybody who's supposed to be an outsourced function of your business, you're going to have like a discovery call, sales call, whatever. By the time you reach the end of the call and that person's, made their offer, made their pitch or whatever, one thing you need to reflect on, did they ask me enough questions to see if I was a good fit? So that is the huge thing. So one of the things I've seen marketing agencies kind of peddle a lot lately, especially when they work in particular verticals, are these cookie cutter strategies. And so they're like, oh, you're a home services business, or you're a healthcare company. We work with tons of people in your X industry, and we can help you grow. Now, the thing is, the trick here is that it's not that they won't help you, grow and hit some of those important marketing KPIs, but the return on investment won't be as high because it's not a personalized strategy. They're just like kind of slapping it on, So if this is a circle shaped company and this is a square shaped strategy, like it's not going to really go together and it's going to be pretty difficult. So, if you have these marketing agencies that only ask like a couple questions, and then they spend the whole time trying to figure out if you actually have the resources or want to spend your resources on it, that's a really big thing. They should be spending time getting to know you and determining whether or not what they offer is a solution that can actually help your company at this moment in time. A huge red flag if they are not asking enough of those deep dive types of questions.
I Absolutely awesome answer, because I say, and again, in addition to that, right? ask all those questions, but then make sure they're listening to you, right? Make sure they're actually taking your answers and using your answers to design whatever program they're talking about, right? So that's that whole sales thing. Like, you have to listen twice as much as you talk, but you
Yep.
have to ask really good questions. So I could not agree more. I think that's a great great answer. All right, Ruthie. So this is my version of just being a little goofy. I I like to ask this question because, well, I just want people to realize that we're not all super serious and we just like to joke around a little bit. So I ask, if you could be a superhero, who would it be, and tell us why? You don't have to spend a lot of time on this one, but
If I could be any superhero, um, I would probably pick Aquaman.
this is the best one so far. Let me hear why to this one.
Okay, so first of all, from an environmental perspective, like we're like shooting stuff into space and trying to get to the moon and try to get to Mars and stuff, and there are still things in our oceans that we like haven't discovered yet. Not to mention the human body's like 75% water, right? So Aquaman, once he's got the trident, like he can manipulate water. He's got hydrokinesis, right? Like that's pretty potent, right? Like, and you're made of water and I can control water. That sounds legit. And then also, like, hello, sea animals, that's great. And just all of the undiscovered land down there. Like, we already know that we don't know everything. So I just find that completely fascinating. And if I was Aquaman, I'd probably turn into like half superhero, half researcher, because I would be super fascinated to find out what was down there.
I love it. I love the answer. You're the first person to pick Aquaman. And I thought for sure you were going to say it was because of Jason Momoa.
Well, I mean, he's hot, but if I was Aquaman, then he wouldn't be Aquaman.
That's right.
So
I'm with you. I'm with you. All right. So here's the part of our podcast that we like. We're like a pay it forward kind of situation where we've worked with somebody in the past and we just want to give them a shout out and say, hey, we thought this person did a good job. And it allows us to tag them in this social media post, and hopefully maybe we can get them into a conversation about Smarketing Connect. That's kind of part of what we do, why we do this. But more importantly, I love giving people some credit where they don't expect it. That's one of my favorite things to do. So do you have somebody in mind that you'd like to give a shout out to and let everybody know that they're a good person to work with?
absolutely. So her name is Sarah Noel Block. I've actually had her on my podcast and we've worked together, but she's a marketing consultant and she's been in the space, I think, like, 10, 11, 12 years. But what I love about her is that she has all of the aspects, like just all of the different tools in terms of like what makes like a great consultant. And she is an awesome human being. She's one of the few people I would say in my entrepreneurial journey who I've felt like I can come to them and she doesn't mix up, hey, I've got some questions for you. Like I'm feeling a little uncertainty, right? As we do as human beings. And she doesn't conflate that with my professional competency. She's like, hey, Ruthie can ask me some questions about this over here. And that doesn't mean that she's not amazing at what she does. And I think as entrepreneurs, we do not put enough on top of on that, having that valuable relationship. She's just a great human being and a fantastic marketing consultant. So Sarah Noel Block, everybody. She's the founder of Tiny Marketing, and she specializes in working with small businesses.
I was actually going to ask you the name of her company, but you answered that already. So see, you're doing half my job for me, Ruthie. I appreciate it. All right. So this last slide here is basically, so I go to your website and I try to pull out anything I can see that's forward facing. I do not give out anybody's information that is not forward facing. So, I mean, I know you and I have each other's emails, phone numbers, whatever, but I wouldn't do that. So for this purpose, the only thing I found was your website address, and you do have a contact form on there. So anybody looking to reach out to you, I would suggest go to the website, fill out the contact form. With that being said, though, is there other ways that you would want people to look for you? Any other methodology or any other places they can find you and what you're up to?
Oh, well, they can definitely find me on LinkedIn. I'm very much a open connector, although not if it sounds like you're going to be pitching me as soon as we connect. But yeah, definitely on LinkedIn. You can just search me up by my name, and I'm more than happy if you've got a few questions or anything like that. I'm pretty chatty in the messages.
Awesome. And if you remember nothing else, just remember you are watching the Smarketing Connect podcast. Ruthie is one of our favorite Smarketing Connect professionals. So if you can't find her any other way, just reach out to us. We'll make sure that you can get in touch with her, and we'll make sure that we make that connection for for you and for Ruthie. So Ruthie, thank you very much. This has been awesome. I'm very excited to be able to post this within the next couple of weeks. And I appreciate you. Thank you very much for being on with us.
Thank you for having me.
Bye, everybody.